The music was loud, the chandeliers glowed like hanging stars, and the bride's white dress shimmered like a dream when the doors of the wedding hall burst open with a force no one expected. A small 9-year-old boy, thin and dusty, holding a newborn baby wrapped in an old towel, stood frozen under hundreds of shocked eyes. He looked terrified, like someone who had run the entire city to reach this moment, and his chest heaved with heavy breaths. The violin music stopped mid-note, the laughter faded into confusion, and the bride and groom stood motionless at the altar. In his trembling arms, the baby whimpered softly, as if sensing the storm around. The boy's clothes were torn, his shoes mismatched, and the sight of the tiny infant against his small body was so unbelievable that no one spoke. The only sound was the boy's whispering breath as he gathered courage to speak, a courage that seemed too big for someone so young. Play button if you believe kindness still exists and that every child deserves a chance. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts everywhere. No one knew who he was, why he had come, or how a child ended up with a newborn at a wedding meant for joy and celebration. The boy's name was Ajay, and the story behind his arrival had begun long before the doors swung open. Ajay was the oldest child in a one-room house on the edge of the city, a place where the walls cracked in the heat and hunger was an everyday visitor. His mother worked endless hours cleaning homes, including the home of the bride getting married today. The baby in his arms was his little sister, born only 3 days ago. Their father had left long ago, chasing dreams that never returned. Their mother called the baby Mira, her only joy in the world, but joy came with a heavy price. She became terribly ill after the birth, unable to move, unable to feed her newborn, and Ajay, at only 9, had become the protector of a life smaller than his hands. He had watched his mother's face turn pale, felt her shaking hands on his cheek, heard her whisper that she had no strength left, and that he must do something. Ajay had tried to find help, knocking on neighbors' doors, running to the small clinic nearby, but no one listened. He didn't know what medicine to buy or how to ask for help. He only knew one thing: his mother had worked for the bride's family for years. They had always seemed rich, kind, and powerful. His mother had said once that the bride's father had a heart softer than the moon. The boy remembered those words like a promise. So with his baby sister tied carefully inside a blanket, he set out on foot across the city to find the only people he believed could save her. He didn't know about the wedding. He didn't know hundreds of people would stare at him. All he knew was that time was running, faster than his small legs. The hall stared in disbelief as he stood at the center, struggling to speak. The weight of silence pressed on him, and his eyes filled with tears. The emotions inside him were too old for his young age: fear of losing his mother, fear of failing his sister, fear of the world being too big for a boy like him. The bride stepped down from the stage, her dress flowing like a white river. The guests whispered, some touched, some confused. The groom stood beside her, equally stunned. They could see the desperation in Ajay's shaking arms. The boy didn't ask for money or pity. He asked for help, help for his mother, who was dying alone in a dark room with no food, no medicine, and no strength to keep breathing. Every detail poured out of him like a flood. He told them how he cut one roti into pieces so his mother could eat something. How the baby cried through the night, hungry and cold. How he tried to boil water with scraps of wood so the baby could have warm milk. He had never held a newborn before, but he learned to cradle her in his tiny arms, rocking her to sleep while staring at his mother's fading face. His words shook the entire hall. The bride's makeup melted into tears, the groom's eyes burned with guilt, and the bride's father, a man known for his success, felt his heart break under the weight of the little boy's story. What happened next transformed the wedding into something far beyond celebration. The bride's father walked slowly toward Ajay, knelt on one knee, and carefully held the baby with tenderness that wiped away all the glitter around them. The groom rushed to call an ambulance, and the guests sprung into action, offering blankets, milk, money, and help. The beauty of the hall was replaced with a beauty far greater, kindness. AJ's courage had awakened something powerful in everyone present. They didn't see him as a poor child intruding on a rich event. They saw him as a hero who chose to fight instead of give up, a brother who walked through the city carrying the future of his family. When they reached the hospital, the bride held AJ's hand like he was her own brother. The doctors moved quickly, giving his mother treatment she desperately needed. Hours passed like years, but finally, the doctor smiled and said she would live. AJ broke into tears, not loud, just silent drops that carried days of fear and nights of courage. The newborn slept peacefully in the bride's arms, wrapped in warmth she had never known. The bride's father arranged everything for their care: medical support, groceries, and school admission for AJ. He promised that from this day forward, AJ would not walk alone in the world. As the sun rose over the city the next day, the wedding continued, not with extravagance, but with love. AJ and his baby sister sat at the front, honored as special guests. The bride's father declared that sometimes the greatest blessings arrive uninvited, and the bravest hearts are found where the world never looks. Every guest applauded not for the decorations or the music, but for a boy who walked into a wedding carrying hope. Redheart, if this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to support real stories of courage and humanity. Speech balloon before the ending. Please comment, kindness wins. In the months that followed, AJ's life transformed. He went to school for the first time, learned to read, and dreamed bigger than he ever believed possible. His mother regained her health, working less but smiling more, grateful for the day her son taught the world that courage has no age. The newborn, Mira, grew strong, surrounded by love. And the wedding that began with flowers and music became remembered as the day kindness defeated silence, when a little boy changed a room full of strangers by simply refusing to let his sister fall into darkness. The hall where he once stood trembling became the place where his future began, proving that the smallest voice, driven by love, can shake the world into compassion.